Welcome back, everybody, to Locked Off Logic podcast. I'm here with a very anticipated guest. We've been trying to work in this interview for a long time. Darius Finch, also known as, did I say your name right?
Hmm?
Darius Finch, also known as D Riptide on Instagram, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And we've been looking to do this interview for a long time, and I'm super pumped that he's finally come on the show to be our special Halloween guest, talking about some really awesome horror movies, slasher genres that he's been involved with, interested in for a long time. So, man, bro, just to start us off, man, thanks for coming on and spending your Friday evening with Locked Off Logic podcast.
It is an honor, Tyler. It's I mean, and I think it hasn't even been that long since I stumbled across stumbled across your channel in the first place. Like I was literally like it was literally like it was the Last of Us season 2 video that actually got me to watch you guys in the first place. And I was one of the few people who I wouldn't go so far as to say I don't know if I say tolerated, but I like the season well enough. But I could definitely understand a lot of the issues
For
that
sure.
everybody was coming from, and this is coming from somebody who adores the second game. Sorry for those watching, but it's true.
That's
It's
awesome.
true. It really is, and it's. I don't intentionally go out of my way to look for a positive or negative review if I'm feeling the same way. But it is also nice to get other people's opinions to sort of broaden broaden my state of mind, so that way I can understand why certain people react to certain projects, certain things and niches that they like the way that they do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. So many of like people that like follow Locked Off Logic podcast kind of came to know us through The Last of Us, which I'll be honest, like I'm a total stan. Like I loved season 2, I love season 1, I love everything they put out. I love the second game, loved the second game. And when I found your review, that's how I found you too. But like you obviously had some criticisms, which are very valid criticisms. I think you gave it, if I'm not mistaken, a 6.5 out of 10.
I was tempted to give it a 6.5 out of 10, but the more I went back over it, I felt like a 6 was like the highest I can go because as much as I'm taking as much supplemental material from the games that I can to sort of
For
justify
sure.
certain elements that at least I understood. I definitely I understood why they had to make the certain changes that they did, but considering how that game was constructed and the backlash to it, like I think everybody was just sort of in a lose-lose scenario, and they just went
Yeah.
about it like the best way they could. Nobody was really going to be satisfied with this, and
Yeah.
especially going into season 3 with Neil Druckmann and Haley Gross no longer being involved with the producing or the writing or directing at all. It's definitely
That
going to
makes me
be
nervous.
weird.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
2020s in general has been a weird time to be a Last of Us fan.
Yeah, no kidding, bro. I hope it's good. Like I have faith in Mason. I have a ton of faith in Caitlin Deaver. I think she's an amazing young actress. I think she'll be great as Abby. But the whole Neil Druckmann and Haley Gross thing does make me really nervous because I think the best episodes of The Last of Us were directed by
By
Neil
Neil,
Druckmann.
yes.
And I just think Neil is just a fucking genius. Like I'll listen to that man talk forever. I love listening to him talk, and I hope that they step me away. I know that he said that he has to work on like Intergalactic and the video game. I'm hoping that there's also like some Last of Us 3 stuff that he's working on because he sends out these like little Easter eggs of like we're not done with The Last of Us or I have this concept, just like throwing these little bit of like breadcrumbs at us, and so who knows? But that does make me nervous. But your review was so honest, I think, and like you get like these reviews like on TikTok that like again like oh Bella Ramsey doesn't look like Ellie or she's so unlikable or they made Pedro Pascal whatever, and I'm just like that's just it's just weird, it's just weird of like these grown men being like well she's not as hot as the video game Ellie, and like I'm just like you just a bunch of weirdos,
I've
but like
never understood those complaints. Like
I haven't
I've
either.
never even bothered to I never even bothered to try and understand that because it's one of those things where like I feel like it's definitely coming from a repressed sort of resentment in a way.
Yeah.
I don't want to just cut it off at just that, but it's like it's one of those things where like it's also kind of funny we're mentioning that because I'm also going to bring that back up when it comes to one of the rankings I'm going to get to a little later because it does sort
Nice.
of feed into that, I
Cool.
guess.
Yeah, I think Bella, like just to give her props again, I think she's a great Ellie, and I think she does an amazing job in acting. She doesn't look exactly the part, but if people like fixate on that, I just think it's weird. But your review was not weird. It was very honest and like, okay, here are my criticisms of the season 2 based on my experience with The Last of Us 2, and I was like, okay, yeah, like if you don't like it and you have like legit like gripes and like issues and like things that you liked and you disliked, that's fine as long as you're not like fixing on like the weird stuff where like the Bella Ramsey stuff. And so then I started following your stuff, and now I get your text updates and when you get out of the theater and your reaction, and it's been an awesome follow. So like first off, just congrats for your platform, bro, that you have, and it seems like you're killing it and you love movies, and just congrats on the success that you're having.
I have sort of been slowing down a little bit because I have really been trying to get a job and at least some sort of stable ground in regards to what's going on over here. Like I really am doing my best, which is why eventually I had to go back to my uncle. He has a painting job. He's very a perfectionist with that, but he's very helpful. He definitely understands the situation, and for what it's worth, is, I mean, I'm just doing the best that I can. I don't want to slow down doing the stuff that I love, like watching the stuff that I do, because like it's honestly been like a pretty long journey for me realizing that.
Yeah, man, I think you're killing it, and I just can't wait for more reviews from you, and I can't wait for this ranking, bro. I have so here's the format, just real quick. So just to get some housekeeping items out of the way. For those of you listening, obviously welcome Darius Finch on the podcast, DRiptide on Instagram. Excuse my co-host. He's out. Actually, he just finished fundraising for his new movie called The Getaway, which you can check it out like on our social media. It's a road trip rom-com filmed in southern Utah, I believe, and Sam's a cinematographer on it, which I know is a big deal for him, like is a cinematographer and is someone who wants more feature films under his belt. He's really excited. And like, just shout out to the Locked Off Logic fans. Like, you guys were great in sharing that post, and I saw a few people even like donate to get them past the $20,000 they needed to do like their post production. So, like, just anyone listening to this during Halloween, just thank you for that. It's a big deal, and I can't wait to see how it goes. And as far as my guest today, he is a fan of Ghostface, fan of the Scream series. And he's got a ranking 1 through 13 of all the Ghostfaces.
From worst to best.
From worst to best, ending with the best one. What he doesn't know, I know that he's doing that. I know that he's doing the ranking, and we're going to talk about it because, like, just speaking for me, I have never seen a Scream movie. Never. I'm not a huge, but I will now because my boy here is going to tell me who's the best Ghostface and probably tell me the best order to watch it. I'm not a big horror guy, but I do have, and we'll talk about this like in the show, I do have some horror movies that I've seen and I've liked. They're probably like not really well known, like the horror genre, because I've only seen like 10 of them, and I'm just like, okay, these are 10 that I've seen. These are my horror movies. But
you sure?
We'll talk about 10? That. I'm pretty sure, unless like things like Sinners or Heretic count as horror, which I'm like, I don't know. Like for me, like I'll start this podcast off. My favorite horror movie of all time is the first one I've ever saw, which was a movie called Wrong Turn. You seen Wrong Turn?
I think I heard about it in passing. I don't think I've seen it though.
It's really good. They've made a bunch of spin-offs. It just got progressively worse, but it's basically like this group of, the horror genre, group of teenagers go out in the woods and they get lost and they stumble on the house of a bunch of inbred cannibals in the hills of West Virginia. And they spend the next 2 hours trying to escape these group of cannibals. And I watched and I was like, I was honestly shitting my brains out. I was so scared because I just wasn't used to horror movies. And then I was like, at the end, like it kind of, you feel like you've accomplished something, and you kind of have that experience of like, oh, that was intense. And so it's always been, but it's the first one I've seen, and it was the one that I've always just kind of claimed as my favorite. So that's seen 13 of like something in the same genre, not the same genre, but the same, I guess, cinematic universe, I guess is what you call it, like the Ghostface universe.
That's Scream. Yeah.
Scream. The Scream universe.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So what he has this ranking 1 through 13 that we'll talk about. What he doesn't know is that I also had ChatGPT pull up its own ranking to see how it stacks up. In this ranking, I combined different things. I combined the kill count, the aura that each Ghostface gives off, just based on like whatever kind of algorithm it uses. Um, their Rotten Tomato score on RottenTomatoes.com, how I guess the quality of movie, um, and then a few other things I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll go back in my notes and check out. But 5 different things that I combined into this algorithm, and I said, okay, based on this, kill count, the motives, whatever, give me your ranking on the Ghostface 1 through 13. I'm gonna compare it with D Riptides, and so it did that. It did that for me. So I'm gonna see how that compares. But then also, so like my audience can get to know you better, because usually after we do these guest podcasts, we always get some locked off fans that go and check out who we had on. I also want them to get to know you better too. So I have 13 questions, one of which I told you online, but the other 12 I didn't tell you, so that our audience can get to know you a little bit better. So how the show's going to go is you're going to give me your 13, right, and we'll work our way down, why it is. I'm going to tell you what Chat GPT, what they think 13 is, and I'm going to ask you a question, and you can answer that so our audience can get to know you a little bit better, and we'll just repeat that process until we get to number one.
That is definitely fair.
Cool.
That being said, given I am talking about like 6 Scream films in a row, I think I might as well like get my quick thoughts about like each one out of the way so I can like clear the air of that part.
Cool. Do it, man.
As far okay, so the first Scream film, like released back in like December of 1996. At least I think. I have to double check that. But basically, the first Scream film is what a lot of people consider their favorite ones, and it undoubtedly an iconic fixture of the horror and slasher genre, and for good reason too. It definitely, between frequent references to classic horror movies, its reverses of accepted horror movie cliches, it's a strong sense of self-awareness, very memorable characters, and a twist with the antagonist that I do adore. You will see that in the ranking. It definitely helps infuse this with a universal sense of paranoia of not being able to trust anyone, but making sure you pay super close attention. It's definitely one of those movies at the time that definitely helped sort of resurrect the slasher genre in a way. And as far as me personally, when I first saw the movie, like back in 2023, I went like on a full binge of watching all the Scream movies, like in like 2 full days. It's probably the better written film. But I do have a personal favorite that I'll get to a little later. As far as Scream 2, the sequel, released in 1997, I do think that is a solid enough sequel. I don't think I like it as much. It's sort of in the middle of the pack for me. I do have some issues with certain character moments in the acting and the execution of the final act in general. But as far as being jokey and both in jokey and self-referential while having a grounded plot to anchor it all down, I can still look at it as a solid sequel. I can't say the same for Scream 3 though. Now, okay, anybody watching this who have seen Scream 3, you probably know what I'm talking about. But me personally, I don't hate it as much as everyone else does. But at the same time, I can definitely understand where the complaint's coming from. It's agonizingly uneven in both tone and execution. Not to mention, it falls prey to many of the tropes and cliches that were cleverly parodied and satirized before in previous installments. I mean, there's hardly even a balance between the satirical and horrifying. Given that Kevin Williams, the writer for the first 2 Scream films, was not here, it definitely explains a lot. And as far as the more jokey, more playful tone of the film, it definitely boils down to a nationwide tragedy. The original plan for Scream 3 was basically that one of the deceased killers from the first film was going to come back to get revenge, and he was going to lead on this whole like school-wide massacre or whatnot. And then Columbine happened.
Yep, can't do that.
Yes, yeah. So understandably speaking, they had to refilm a lot of that. Pretty much restart the whole thing over.
Yeah.
And yet, again, I don't exactly hate that film. It's the only saving grace for me is that Wes Craven's directing barely elevates the weaker parts of the script with some poetic visual storytelling, and at least it does finish out the original trilogy in a semi-satisfying way to me. And there one, by the way, that one came out in 2000. and there was not a single Scream film for the rest of the decade until 2011. And that,
That is great. That's what I have pulled up here. Is it Scream? Just I had the when they came out and the Rotten Tomato scores, and yeah, Scream 3 is the lowest ranked one, and Scream 2 is the highest ranked one. And then I see the massive gap here until Scream 4 in 2011, right?
or Scriforum, if you want to look, if you want to look at the way it did the poster.
Okay.
I don't know
So
why. I don't know
Scream,
why. I kind of laugh. I kind of laugh whenever I see movie logos like that, like Scriforum or Fan Four Stick or Disney.
oh
Look at
yeah,
this.
yeah, that's stupid.
And Scream 4, not only is it personally the best Scream sequel of the bunch, at least to me, I think it's probably my favorite Scream film. Again,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that's just me. Me personally, again, the first Scream film might be the better written movie, but this one is my pers- personal favorite. And I'm not just saying that because it was Wes Craven's last film he directed before passing in 2015. I'm saying that because it's a really damn good movie.
Okay.
It's very aggressive. It parodies the trends it creates with wonderful tongue-in-cheek humor. It has probably the best third act in the series, at least to me, and it seamlessly turns the series' own cynicism back on itself to make a really compelling movie that you never really know where it's going to go the entire way. As far as having replayability and a self-reflexivity of neo-slashers, it pays much better tribute to that entire genre than the previous two movies I just mentioned, or most slasher films in general, at least to me personally.
Hmm.
And, well, like I said, with Wes Craven's passing, not another Scream film until 11 years later. The
Hmm.
Scream 5.
Scream.
Scream
Yeah.
5, 2022. But why didn't they just call it Scream 5? Or just Scream 5, 5 Scream, whatever. It's, again, it's Scream 5, 2022.
Yeah.
And, yeah, the Radio Silence team behind Ready or Not were the directors and writers for this one. And new cast, new cast. They pretty much were doing the Halloween 2018 thing with most horror movies are doing it now. Well, we're doing it because they did it with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They bloody did it with I Know What You Did. I Know What You Did Last Summer. I never even saw those movies. I don't even know why. And well, I'm sorry. I don't know why. I always found those I Know What You Did Last Summer movies like they wanted to be part of the boom, but they never really interested me enough to be like, huh, okay.
Yeah. No, they were no good.
Okay. 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 Scream 5 and Scream 6. Long story short, I don't really like them.
Interesting. Okay,
I
because
mean,
well,
okay.
on the tomato reader, like and like obviously it's Rotten Tomatoes, so like you have to like take it with a grain of salt. But
Mm-hmm.
the two latest Screams are actually two of the highest ranked. Were Scream in 2022, 76%, and then the next one is 77%, which rounds out the top three behind Scream 2 from 97. And you'd actually disagree with that. Why don't you like them? I guess would be my question.
If you were to ask me about Scream 5, I wouldn't go so far as to say I hate Scream 5. I just find it the most needlessly annoying, the most plain, the most safe out of all the other movies,
Got it.
at least to me. None of the kid, I mean, not really any. I didn't really find any of the characters that interesting or stood out to me outside of the new protagonist and the Ghostfaces to a lesser extent. Then again, the kills also can be seen coming from a mile away, and really, you think of everything from the scares to the kills to the pacing to the atmosphere. It's severely hit or miss. It honestly felt like pretty second rate, and it just felt like they were just redoing the first movie over again because it's a requel, and just because you're cheaply tying into that, it feels very pedestrian to me. And
Got it.
no matter how many times you reference that, no matter how many times you sort of draw attention to that and try to make it a thing, it's one of those things where I get what you're going for. I get the intention, and there is a twist with the new protagonist that I do admit had a lot of potential to go further, but it just didn't really hit to me. Now Scream 6
Okay.
was now Scream 6 that was a tad bit better. That being said, it still was pretty annoying to me because again, killers were obvious. Still not playing it safe, and considering they moved Scream Six to a brand new environment, like a brand new playground outside of Woodsboro or college or whatnot, they really had a chance to utilize it to their advantage, and I don't really think they did that in a way. But again, I did enjoy it more than Scream Five because the issues I mentioned, they did fix some of it. The characters have more bite to them now. The kills are a lot more brutal. And as far as I'm concerned, the pacing has been done out just enough to where I can sort of digest it a little bit more. If that's what you mean. There are three sequences in Scream Six in particular that actually did kind of get to me, and people watching know what I'm talking about. It's it's sort of made me question for a second whether or not okay, maybe there is still a little bit of life left in the series after all. And again, 2023 was the year where 2023 was the exact year I binge watched all of these movies. And if I could go back in time and realize what was going to happen after that, I probably should have watched it a little bit sooner because, the the trajectory of the Scream franchise from then going to now, it's definitely very wonky.
Interesting. Okay. Huh. Okay. So, I guess to start us off, like for anyone that's listened to like this podcast and just heard you like rank the Scream movies, talk about the killer, like give us like for someone like me that like I know who Ghostface is, right? I recognize the mask because the mask's been probably forever. There's this TikTok trend going around where like the girl on the phone with Ghostface behind her, it's kind of going viral. For my audience that is not horror fanatics or have never seen a Scream movie, give me a rundown on what is the concept of Ghostface? What does he represent? What's his deal? What's its deal? What is its thing? Is it just some kind of psycho killer? Does it have any kind of like theme that connects itself like through these different franchises? Or just every movie some nut puts on a ghost face mask and decides to kill somebody?
It's sort of the latter.
Okay.
But
Which is almost scarier.
But in a way they do find some way to make it tie back to every other murder, every other event that happens. They really do their best to sort of congeal this. It's always a different killer. Someone's always putting on the mask either for. Sorry for getting tongue tied here. I have a tendency to stutter, and I don't really want to do that.
No, you're killing it, bro.
Ghostface is pretty much a persona for the antagonists to where to sort of hunt down the main protagonist, Sidney Prescott, or in Scream 5 and 6, Sam Carpenter. It's definitely sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
No, you're good. I think I was asking the just
General.
the connecting guy that brings Ghostface together, but it sounds like from what you've described is once in like every movie, a psycho decides to put on the Ghostface outfit, which I'm assuming his legend is kind of like circulating throughout this franchise, where
You're right.
like there's a bad guy who wants to commit a murder or multiple murders, and was like, I already have heard of a Ghostface in the past. I'm gonna don the mantle of the new Ghostface as a persona to enact whatever kind of violence I want to enact.
Essentially.
Okay. Cool. All right. Interesting. Okay, well, number 13, bro. Who is the worst Ghostface in the Scream franchise? You said there's 13? Because my algorithm, right now, there is my 13. List. Okay.
At least until we get to Scream 7.
Okay, so you're going to tell me you're 13. Tell me why. I'm going to tell you what chat, essentially, based on the algorithm that I gave it, thinks is 13. And then I'm going to ask you a question so we can get to know you better.
I have a feeling my 13 and their 13 is going to be completely different. I have a good idea on what theirs is, and it's not mine. It's not mine.
Okay, you go first.
My number 13. Number 13 for me is Charlie Walker.
Charlie Walker. Okay, why?
It may sound a little petty to me, but as far as like deciphering him apart from like the other 12, I mean, sure, you could definitely he was definitely the muscle of the duo in Scream 4. He sort of does have a certain affinity for metafiction, similar to like Randy Meeks from like the earlier Scream films. He also does have his fair share of brutal kills and bloody crime scenes, but in a way, but it's sort of like not only does all the mystique sort of evaporate around him like the instant he reveals himself, it's sort of like, to me personally, he's the least developed of all the other Ghostfaces. He has the least amount of agency, at least in the grand scheme of the other Ghostface's plan, and he doesn't really have his own agenda beyond, I guess, just wanting to get laid. Like, he's pretty much a slave to the devil to be disposed of, but he's no longer needed. Like, okay, look, on that front, I get it. People have killed over love before, and those emotions make us susceptible to doing really stupid things. But at the same time, it's like when you look at the movie, you look at the context of what's happening. It's one of those things where, like, how do you not see you are being played for a fiddle here? And putting aside how ruthless he was in costume, his attitude outside of that was just, I wouldn't say he's mostly subservient, but the switch up between before and after his reveal, it just didn't hit right to me. And I get it. I understand he's meant to be a slave to his desires, and that within itself is terrifying. But in comparison to literally everyone else, to me personally, that's all there is to him.
Interesting. Okay, so your number 13 is Charlie Walker, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, chat, based on the algorithm that I gave it, its 13 is Jason Carver. Briefly appears before being killed, almost no development or motive exploration, easily last place is what it says. So, first disagreement right off the bat. D-Riptide and ChatGPT are in disagreement right off the bat. Interesting. What do you think of that? Do you thoughts on that doubts?
Given from what I see, I don't exactly blame them for putting Jason that low, because okay. Truth be told, he's low on mine too. He's literally the next one I'm talking about.
Okay. Well, don't tell us yet. Because I have a question for you, so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. Okay. D-Riptide, what is the number one cinema sin that you hate the worst? What is something that people do in the movie theater that drives you absolutely insane?
Ooh, pet peeves in the cinema. Ooh.
You like that one? That was a good question, bro. Ooh. That one was not ChatGPT generated. That came from the mind of Locked Off Logic. So there you go.
Fair enough. But yeah, this is definitely this is actually pretty tricky because in comparison to like a lot of other people's cinema experiences, mine have been relatively blissful, and it's not just a thing of like being in the area or whatnot. It's one of those things where like I don't know. Like, if I were to pick one that really, really annoyed me, outside of just talking excessively over the film, it's like this has only happened give or take maybe five separate occasions, and all I know is that I could really do without it. Why would you bring babies into the movie?
Yes, we just did a TikTok just based on that. I think you reshared it.
And most specifically, why bring them into a horror movie?
Oh yeah, the last movie I saw that was, I guess, a horror. No, you know what? That brings up one of. So I was in St. Louis once. I was on a work trip or something, and Joker had just come out. So me and my buddy went to go see Joker 1.
Oh, okay.
And some moron brought in a 5-year-old kid, not a baby, but I'm like,
I've heard about that one.
No. I'm like, you can't. First off, bring a baby in the cinema. Like, if that thing's fucking crying and like you have to like deal with it, and people don't bring it out. But again, I'm like, look, there's horror, and then there's like the Joker, which is like that guy beat someone to death with like a clown doll, and you see the guy's head cave in. I'm like, this kid, and that's a good one. That's a good cinema pet peeve.
Okay. Going off tangent a little bit here. You already mentioned Joker.
Yeah, do
You've
it.
already mentioned
Your
Joker.
show, bro.
So I'm probably gonna have to ask you about the sequel.
I didn't like it. Didn't like it.
You are not alone in that one. But
You didn't like it either?
um, fair for me to be a contrarian.
You did like it.
I only liked it.
Okay.
I didn't.
That's fair.
It was definitely one of those movies where I can see where a lot of people are coming from, but I was weirdly captivated by the results here. It was definitely another one of those Warner Brothers self-sabotage things, like how Lana Wachowski did it with Matrix Resurrections. Todd Phillips did it here, and it's I didn't hate the idea of it being a juke. I didn't hate the idea of it being a jukebox musical. Like me personally, I do think gradually it did make sense in the context of Arthur's mythology, his mindset, basically. And as far as looking back and sort of putting that in with both Joker and Harley's mindset, they both sort of use their activities as sort of okay. I know I'm grasping at straws here, and I know a lot of people here are not going to believe a single thing that I'm saying. But again, film is meant to be subjective. You could definitely pick apart and choose whichever ones you like. And yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, like, I mean, it definitely helps set the tone in a way, but at the same time, given what happened, it's like,
yeah. I mean, I watched it and I was like, I don't know. I feel like kind of like Warner Bros was like taking money from me or something. Where I was like, you told me a story about a mentally ill man in the concept as if he was the Joker from Gotham City, the guy that fights Batman, and you take me in a 2-movie journey with him to off him at the end. I'm like, that's not Joker, man. Like, you kind of screwed me into like the first, like, again, like apart from that, like, I probably would have watched it anyway if there was no Batman context. But the fact that it was kind of like an exploration of what if this is what caused the Joker to be Joker was interesting to me. And so the way they just ended it, and honestly, like, I love going to a Joaquin Phoenix movie. For me, used to be like an event where I'm like, oh yeah, Joaquin Phoenix, whatever. But like the last 3 films I've seen him in, I'm just like, this kind of sucks. Like, I was really disappointed in Joker 2. I was really disappointed in fucking Napoleon, which I thought would be great. And I was just like, what is this? And then Eddington I went and saw, and I was just like, that was not what I expected. And it was 45 minutes too long, in my opinion.
where have I hearing that before?
Huh. Interesting. Okay, cool. So, babies. Oh, go ahead.
Maybe it's just it's not that I don't like.
Yeah, babies are great.
Yeah.
Just in certain settings, like freaking not in Cocaine Bear or not in an Avengers movie or freaking like take them to freaking Toy Story 5 or something, like, but like, I don't know.
I would pity somebody who decided to take their baby in the Cocaine Bear. Like, seriously.
Yeah. Well, that's the last time I heard a baby in the theater, bro. Last time I heard a baby in the theater, and it's been a few years, so I need to give people credit. Maybe they're improving with like their cinema etiquette, but last time I heard a baby was in Cocaine Bear, and like it just was wailing, and they wouldn't take it out. I'm like, there's 20 people in here, like get that thing out of here, like. But anyway, yeah. So okay, interesting, bro. Okay, man. Number 12 on your list of Ghostfaces, man. Who is number 12 and why?
Well, ChatGPT spoiled it for me. Just so happened to be Jason Garvey.
Number 12 is Jason?
Yeah. I'll explain that in a bit.
Okay, well, tell me why.
I don't blame ChatGPT or whatever for putting Jason at the bottom of their list. On paper, he really should be. I mean, his presence really didn't do anything but just add the implication that there was a possible Ghostface code coming into fruition. His presence just feels like an afterthought. This feels like an afterthought at the end of the day. But as far as me bumping him above Charlie, at least his mere existence actually gave us something different in the Scream film, if only for like a little while. I thought he had a little bit more character than Charlie in the short one time he's given, and some parts of him were definitely intriguing, like him describing himself as having blue balls from killing, which definitely gives away that he has been doing this for a while and wanted to satisfy
Yeah.
his bloodlust further before, getting to the main event and whatnot. And his motive, well, okay, his motive is definitely a rip-off one as far as what we saw in Scream 5, but then again, that's part of the mentality of being in the cult somewhat. I think the main reason why the inclusion of him is frustrating because, again, it sets the stage for something different in the Scream film, and the film just sort of didn't do anything with it. You normally in a Scream film, like at the very beginning, like when the opening kill, they normally just do the opening kill and it just immediately cuts to the title card. But here it doesn't do that. It lingers for a little while, and then he actually takes his mask off, and then he just sort of roams his way back into society and actually interacts with one of the members of the main cast in a way. So on that front, it definitely puts a lot of questions in your head as far as how is he going to worm his way into the others' lives? How long will it take before they catch on that he's not right in the head? You basically you do wonder whether or not he's going to have a bigger part in the film. And with all that build up, he ends up being the actual opening kill of the movie. He gets off within like the next couple minutes or whatnot, and it's honestly kind of aggravating because what they do with him pretty much tells the entire story of Scream 6 to me because Scream 6 in particular introduces a lot of new ideas and concepts, and then they don't really proceed to do anything with them and then go back to basics.
Interesting. Okay. Huh. Well, once again, ChatGPT will disagree with you. ChatGPT, based on the algorithm that I gave it, again, this is my bad. Probably, I gave it specific things to like rank this for. Number 12 for them is Quinn Bailey. Their reasoning, mostly background muscle for her family, minimal depth, or standout kills. Interesting. But that's their number 12. Okay. Next question for you. For audience to get to know D-Riptide for question number 2. At 13 questions, I have 13 questions, all generated by me, not ChatGPT. Okay. What has been your favorite TV show of 2025?
Ooh, 2025. Oh, boy.
I knew that was a good question. If you need a reminder, I have a list here to help remind you. Do I need to read it to you?
If you must.
Okay. All right. Stand by. My list, and I'm working on my own list for like our end of year show, so that's why I have all this written down. But here are some of my favorites that I've written down, and you can pick one or you can pick two, like whatever you want to do. It's your show. Daryl Dixon, Walking Dead, Gen V, from The Boys, Peacemaker, Terminal List, Lone Wolf, Severance Season 2, The Studio, The Last of Us Season 2, Adolescence, White Lotus, Untamed on Netflix, Criminal Minds Evolution Season 3, Andor, The Pit, Wednesday Season 2. I have Stranger Things on here, but obviously we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Daredevil, Born Again, The Bear Season 2, or The Bear Season 4. But yeah, there you go. American Primeval, Long Way Home on Apple TV Plus, Limitless with Chris Hemsworth, or Task on HBO Max.
That's definitely a lot. It's definitely one of those things. I hate the fact that I haven't exactly been watching a lot of TV as I used to. Like most of the TV I do watch, it's mostly on streaming in a way, and I haven't watched exactly a whole lot apart from a few that you mentioned. If I did have to narrow it down to maybe two choices, if I had to do that, I'd probably be stuck between the second season of Gen V and Adolescence.
Yeah. Yeah, Adolescence was great. Like that was It was almost scary great, like the stuff they talked about. But Gen V, I've been loving, and like I just finished like the latest episode. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but like, I
I,
mean that.
I wanted to try and refrain from watching them all until like the entire season was out. That's normally what I do. And plus, I just got finished with Peacemaker season 2, and I'm still sort of racking my brain to sort of get the review out and such.
Did you like Peacemaker season 2?
I did like it. Again, complaints with the finale. I do understand that, but this is definitely more of a building block sort of season where they
For sure.
sort of help more expand the world more of the DCU before moving on to Superman Superman Man of Tomorrow or one tomorrow or whatever other series they have going on right now, maybe Clayface or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely one of this is it's more of an emotional storytelling season. I definitely understand that in the way, but it's definitely one of those things where sort of the irreverent, charismatic charm that James Gunn relies on so much that I liked in Superman. Somehow here it's sort of I wouldn't go so far to say it's backfiring, but it's starting to get stagnant, and I hate that
Yep.
because
That's a good word. Stagnant.
it is starting to get stagnant. And again, I hate that because I didn't have that issue with any of his other projects recently. But then
Okay.
again, this is definitely him. I mean, he's the director, he's the writer, he's literally like the new head of this new DCEU. He's definitely juggling a lot, and in that case, I could definitely understand if he's starting to stretch himself maybe a little too thin. I mean, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's just me.
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to that review. We'll give it a share on our page when it comes out. Your Peacemaker season 2 review.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Number 11, the Riptide. Who is the 11th ranked Ghostface for you?
Well, this one's going to be tricky because I actually roped 11, 10, and 9 into this.
Oh, okay. Well, we can do 3 at once. Let's do it. Just give me. But again, then I get 3 questions coming your way. Then. But anyway, go ahead. 11. So these are tied. These are just tied for 9 through 11.
These are tied from 11, 10, and 9 because they are the 3 killers, the actual 3 killers in Scream 6.
Okay.
Ethan,
Let's hear it.
Quinn, and Wayne.
Ethan, Quinn, and Wayne. Okay. Why are they all and they're tied because they're the re-killers? That's why they all get the same ranking.
And to be fair, they're all yeah. Well, the fact that I even had to group them all into this one section isn't exactly a good sign.
Got it.
If I had to pick my favorite of the bunch, it probably would be Quinn because the way she effortlessly switches up from the oblivious, concerned roommate to fully embodying the Ghostface mantle in a believable manner, and not to mention she actually gave one of the main characters a pretty good pretty good fight. Wayne would probably be close behind her, as him being a cop actually does allow for some nice physicality, especially at the corner store scene, and again, he definitely brings up the charm. Well, I wouldn't say that, but well, you get what I mean. As far as Ethan, I wish I could say more about him, but he's just sort of there. Fulfills his purpose, pads out the roster, and just sort of dies when he needs to. And even putting aside that all 3 of them have the exact same motive as one of the. But I wouldn't say that. Just let me refresh that. They all have a motive that we've already seen from a previous Scream film, and all 3 of them were ridiculously easy to kill. But the circumstances of how they put together most of the entire plot of Scream 6 in general gets very foggy to me once you sit back and think on it, because it becomes very clear these 3 did not think this through at all. Because I'm gonna go on a tangent here because again this is like another reminder as to why Scream 6 is very frustrating to me. First of all, there's like no way that anybody else could have gotten Sam's ID card other than Quinn. Secondly, how they got Quinn's fake death is another matter entirely. Look, the Scream franchise they've definitely proven it's possible to fake somebody dying. But to somebody else's defense, at least Gail was the only witness to him dying at the time. Everybody else saw Quinn. Am I frozen?
What? No, you're still going.
Sorry, sorry, I don't know why the thing is frozen right here. But
Oh, okay. No, you're still good on my end. You're moving great on my end.
yeah, basically. I was saying everybody saw Quentin's body, and plastered limp, bloody, and as it was thrown to the door. Apparently, apparently Wayne said that since he was the first one on the scene, he swapped out her body with the fresh one and some prosthetics. Like seriously, those were his direct words. And it's like, okay, those bodies have to get taken in to autopsy for examination and identification. There is literally no way the coroner or the rest of the team wouldn't notice any of that. And finally, most damningly, I don't really know how they actually planned on getting away with it because it seemed to be boiling down to a lot of luck and contradictions. It was mentioned that they had to change the last names. It was mentioned they had to change the last names in order to track when they were moving to New York in order to track Sam down. Anyways, that within itself is questionable since they run background checks, especially when you transfer police stations. So how the heck did Wayne get away without having some strings pulled, especially since his son was the hottest murder case the year before? Why is there a roommate lottery? Why is there an ad to look for them? How lucky were you to get your hands on literally every bit of memorabilia from all 5 of the crime scenes, including the actual robes, knives, and masks of the killers, and put it in this shrine, which may remind you, the same shrine they said they put in Jason's name to blame him. But Jason's already dead at the beginning of the movie. So if they're dead, who are you going to pin it on? And how are you going to explain Quinn being alive if you already confirmed her dead earlier? And not only that, this essentially means they brought Kirby back into the fold to make her look really bad at the job so the bad guys can get as far away as they... Oh, for the love of God. Oh, God.
Fascinating.
It sounds like I'm nipping for nothing here, but again, this is one of those reasons that makes Scream 6 so frustrating to me. Like, again, it's pretty obvious that they were the killers, at least to me, and somehow Radio Silence went out of the way to throw a curveball off the curveball to distract us, which, again, is sort of what you're supposed to do in these movies. But
yeah,
these were just obvious plot holes to me that it may make sense on a Scream film on paper, but not in execution. It just makes their entire plot look finicky and incompetent. And it's a logistical nightmare when you pick this plot apart. This plot apart. My bad.
No, you're good. Huh. Okay. Well, ChatGPT, it agrees with you a little bit and then it disagrees with you on some. It definitely agrees with you on Ethan Landry. It says generic revenge angle, little character development beyond dutiful son. So that's their number 11. Number 10 is a guy named Charlie Walker. Serves Jill's plan, decent kill count, but shallow individual.
Don't say.
And then number 9, Richie Kirsch. Manipulative and charming, but weaker compared to Amber. Decent motives, but less development. That's 11, 10, and 9 for ChatGPT.
Okay. Oh, God. I'm still frozen over here.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's
do your thing.
Come see here. Oh, bloody hell. This is the first time this has happened, by the way. So,
Nah, no worries, bro. I can still see you good. You're still showing up good on mine, and I can hear you good. So I'm assuming Riverside is catching everything as well.
This is what it's trying to do.
Yeah. Do you unfreeze it?
Wait.
Still frozen?
Hold on. Oh God. Hold on. Oh. Yeah, it says you can't switch cameras. Crap. Hold on. Okay. Let's go a little bit without the camera.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Cool. You can still hear me good? Cool. All right, man.
Okay.
All right, buddy. I got 3 questions for you then. We did 8 and 9. We did, what did we do? 9, 10, 11. So, question number 1. What is your favorite movie of all time?
Matrix.
Why?
Matrix was the film that it literally started it all for me. Like this journey of like, it was the first time I actually looked at a movie as beyond just a
Wow, that's
regular
cool.
movie. Like it definitely changed the perception of how filming works on how character helps impact scene, like the editing, the cinematography, the music score, just the action in general, and it's very philosophical in everything that it puts out. It's meticulously crafted, and it's an apocalypse of kinetic joy that honestly I don't think anybody else other than the Wachowski sisters could have handled it in the way that they did. It looks amazing with an audacious production design that bleeds seamlessly, and the story of this movie was the first time in which I actually paid attention to an actual narrative of a movie and learned how important and powerful plot structure really was. It walks down a delicate, if not unwavering, balance between blockbuster style spectacle and in depth psychoanalytic undertones that I've grown to admire, laden with all these crazy philosophical messages. And yet, the
Hmm.
general narrative is simple to understand, not just because it's a basic hero's journey. I say basic in the loosest terms possible, but man, it
Yeah.
just I could gush over this movie for hours. It is so good. The
Okay.
first one.
Cool. The Matrix. Okay. All right. What's been your favorite? Question number two. What is your or question number? I don't know where we're at.
Okay.
That was nine. This is it's number question number 10. I guess we're working our way down the list. What's your favorite movie of 2025 that you've seen as
Ooh,
released in 2025?
I
I figured you'd like that one.
I originally thought it was gonna have a I originally thought it was gonna have a pretty difficult time with this one. There were two movies that came out this year that were like literally neck and neck for this position. But the more I thought about this one, the more I sort of related back to our current climate, like this day, the more I realized I haven't been this impacted, this emotionally resonant with a film since Hamilton, I guess. And I'm still frozen. Crap. My
Dang.
favorite film of 2025 so far would have to be Sinners.
Ah, really? Why is that?
This, it's I, you know, it's a lot of. There's like there's a lot I could say about it, and if I did, we'd be here for hours. But basically, it's unreservedly entertaining. It effectively blends all of its genre, historical, mythical, and tonal components together into a delicious gumbo pot of extravagant fun, poignant
Mm.
commentary, and exuberant fierceness. It's Sinners to me is the type of cinematic experience packed with a zest that thrills, sucks you right in, and leaves you dancing and strumming for more. This was what I haven't been this emotionally
Mm.
resonant over a film for a long time. Like literally any mention, any scene I think back to now, it actually leaves me welling up in tears. Like it is that beautiful.
Hmm. Cool. What was your just curious? What was your close second?
Have you heard of Nezat 2? Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Very cool. Okay.
Oh god.
What is your worst movie of 2025? And I asked this question because I just read your review recently of Lilo and Stitch, and I was like, I gotta ask this, bro. What is? And you can throw that in
It
if you
was
want
this
to. I
year.
know it released I think last year, maybe it was this year. I don't even remember. But okay. So I'm gonna assume that's gonna be your answer because man, you roasted that shit online. Is that your worst one, or do you have one that was worse?
Mac movie reviews and Miss Flamingo. If you are watching this, you better get out now because he's right. It
Okay.
is
It
Lilo and
is it
Stitch.
is Lilo and Stitch.
For the longest,
What did you not like
it's
about it?
not like I actively go out of my way to look for bad films like this. Because before I watched Lilo and Stitch, my worst film this year was
Yeah.
G20, and it was like so bloody. Oh god! But I always sort of kept this film in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
I kept telling myself I mean, I planned on watching it around the time it came out, and it was probably a good sign that I didn't. But yeah, I always sort of kept this in the back of my mind, just on the off chance I was curious. I was trying to save money, so I didn't really want to go back to Disney Plus in order to watch it. And then I kept hearing
Yeah.
about the stuff they did with the ending and a few little things they changed and tweaked and prodded and took out and everything in between. And that immediately pricked up my ears, got my attention, and I was just after a while it just kept nagging. That thing just kept nagging at me, because I had been through so many live action remakes that a lot of people trash. Most of them are deserved. Some of them I can understand, but I found at least some enjoyment in them. Like, eventually just got to the point where I was like, okay, you know what? I gotta see it for myself. I need to put this in, get it out of my system. Like, I have to. Curiosity got the better of me, and my God, I do think this is probably the worst live action remake I think I've seen Disney put out, and I still do not have the words necessary to properly voice my disgust. Like, say what you will about Snow White. At least that was based on a story from many decades ago that probably was next in line for a little bit of reinvention. I don't know. And given what happened, everything behind the scenes, it just ended up being incompetent. It didn't feel spiteful. Like this one, it actively felt like Disney was making every single goddamn decision possible to piss off as many.
I haven't seen it. I won't see it. Like I know, like with people, like it's so weird because like it has like a pretty decent like tomato score. Like on Rotten Tomatoes, it has like a 75 or something. The audience meter on Lilo and Stitch is crazy. It's like 92% of people liked it. But there's like this niche. I don't understand because like there's this niche of like creators like yourself and like some others that despise this film. Absolutely hate it. I won't see it. I won't waste my time on it. But like
because and not only that,
they gotta be smoking something.
And not only that, Snow White did so abysmally
something
that
good
Disney
too.
was actually considering pumping the brakes on live action remakes in general. And then this film came out, and it made over $1 billion. It made over $1 billion in the box office.
God.
So not only were they rewarded for shitting all over a classic, they're pretty much gonna keep
Yeah, these need to quit making money too. Like they keep making money, and then we just keep getting stuff like this, and it's just, I don't know. Like I just saw that they announced. I know we're going off a little bit of a tangent here, but like a Minecraft 2, and I'm like, no, a Minecraft 2 with Jason Momoa and Jack Black. But it made so much money. It made like $800 million. And I'm like,
worst films of the year, yeah.
Of your shittiest. Yeah, it was awful. Okay, good to know. Lilo and Stitch. Back to our list. Number 8, man. Number 8, D Riptide. What is your 8th ranked Ghostface?
Yeah, it's still doing it.
I can still see you okay. If you want to keep your camera on, like for me, it's recording great, but I just feel bad it's frozen for you. But for me, you look.
You see me moving
I can see
right
your
now.
movements. Like everything, you look great on my end.
I just wanted to see.
No, not right now. I don't right now. No. But when you have your camera, I can see you. I can see you awesome.
My number 8 is believe it or not, it's actually Amber Freeman.
Wow, interesting. Okay, why?
The room here. This 5'2" high schooler was able to kill one of the legacy characters with relative ease. Yes, I'm aware that Dewey was old and broken down and drunk, has severe nerve damage, and limited his abilities. And got distracted last minute. Look at that. I can understand how she was able to pull it off, but it just feels like I'm missing something here because, again, it's another one of those plot holes that doesn't really make sense if you really think on it that hard. But yeah, putting aside outside the fact that she's one of the biggest kills in the entire series, Amber doesn't really have a whole lot going for her, to me at least, outside of the motivation and Mikey Madison's gleefully sassy performance. She's definitely one of the better performances of Scream V by default. As for the character herself, okay, her reveal definitely startled me in a way, if only because of how forward she was with it, showcasing impatience and getting to the final act while being heavily eccentric and emotionally volatile. And that's when it clicked to me. She's basically the requel homage to Stu Macher, outside of being a lapdog to the mastermind, feigning naivete and childish outbursts about the crimes being committed, and literally living in the same damn house. The references are not hard to spot when you see it. Now, the motivation, this is definitely one of those. The motivation is definitely one of those instances where it trumps the actual killer itself. They. Yeah, basically. The motivation is basically one giant. It's one of many layers of the giant nesting doll that is toxic fandom. Told you we're gonna get back to this. Toxic fandom, it has been an issue for decades. The internet with social media has only made it worse in a way. It may be exaggerated in some instances, but we still literally have teenagers and grown-ass adults trying to kill someone over a mild annoyance. And some fans have expressed even violence over an opinion. And trust me, if you've been on YouTube or Twitter, you can see the crazy. So that idea alone of someone killing over an opinion or movie can and often already has happened, and using that as a framing device to center the movie around, considering the state of the franchise and starting anew with the new lead, it's not hard to see why they would want to make that the motive. Hell, I wasn't even a fan of the motive until I stewed in my thoughts for a little bit, and I carefully considered the discourse that people were having about it. And it's the same discourse that I myself caught into to a point where I actually wanted to give the film credit for nearly proving its point. That being said, I do have issues with this. I get them wanting to give some filmmakers some fresh inspiration to do things differently with potential future installments, but considering that Amber is also a stab fanatic, I don't know, maybe this is just my weird brain going over something, but she should have at least had some semblance of respect or idolization for the original trio to, not kill them off and classify it as a win for the fans. And two, as much as I'm willing to turn around to liking the motive nowadays, it still doesn't help make up for how safe the rest of the movie was before that point, especially if you consider that Dewey's death, at least to me, was the only death in Scream V that actually mattered and held any real weight. It all boils down to execution at the end of the day, and there's only so much references and callbacks and homages can do to mask the stench of a pedestrian effort. Although she does go out in bewilderingly epic fashion, being set on fire. Funny enough, it's also how she goes out in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But really, the best I can give Amber is that they elevated her to the Clayton Sykes treatment. Like, you were pretty standard and forgettable, but you at least gave us a pretty badass death scene.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Because chat, going to disagree with you on number 8. They say that their number 8 is Wayne Bailey. Compelling, family-driven revenge, decent kills, a solid film rating,
understandable.
Less personality keeps him mid-tier.
Still frozen.
Interesting. That's number 8. Bro,
okay.
Next question. Who is your, do you have a favorite actor?
Can't say that I do, honestly.
Is there an actor you have that you will see anything that he's in no matter what?
Honestly, first actor that comes to mind is Keanu Reeves.
All right. That's fine. It's my co-host's favorite actor, too, is Keanu Reeves. Huh. Fascinating. Okay. Very cool. Okay, bro. Number 7, man. Who is your Ghostface number 7?
I'll honestly be shocked if me and Chad actually agree with this one.
Let's hear it.
My number 7 is Roman Bridger.
Okay. Interesting. Tell me why.
I know some people are going to take issue with Roman being as high up as he is on my list. It was actually in the middle. But basically, to me, what it boils down to is that both the good and bad about him as a Ghostface sort of cancel each other out cancel each other out in a way. Like he has this, I don't know if I call it a tragic as hell backstory, but it's definitely one. But it's definitely one of those where look, the best way that I can describe this is that, well, outside of him being the main antagonist in Scream 3, he also is technically the one who got the ball rolling for Ghostface in the first place. Technically, like a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that, and I don't blame them. But this is definitely one of those things where it's interesting, and it's interesting enough to where, not that I wanted to see them continue with this, but it's one of these things where it's like, it definitely speaks a lot to his character, because Roman was also just so happened to be a director who was working on the newest. Funny, the Scream films are basically like, the Scream films are like meta in the Scream movies. Also, they're called Stab here, and Roman just so happened to be the director for like the third Stab movie, like in production at that time, and him being a director, he sort of concocted this cockamamie fustercluck of a long-term plan between orchestrating his own mother's death, indirectly giving birth to two infamous serial killers, while indirectly forcing his half-sister Sydney, yes, really, to live with that PTSD of going through like the first batch of murders over and over again. And that's before I even mentioned him doing his damnedest to cover up all of his victims while landing the Stab 3 job, personally handpicking all these people to work with him, and then pick them up one by one like pieces of a chessboard. And keep in mind, most ghost faces in movies, most ghost faces normally have two killers. Scream 3 only has one, and that's just Roman. He was able to do all of that on his own, and it was the only time it's happened in the series. And his presence in the story in particular is also important in a way, because the entirety of Scream 3 dealt with toxic Hollywood culture. You know, many performers and professionals coming clean with abuses that dealt with those by basically coming clean with abuses dealt by those higher powers. And Roman, given all that he had done up to that point, was not only a victim of that cycle, he was also perpetually continuing along, just as Sydney was. And that right there also is what brings Roman down, because similar to Charlie, the aura around him dissipates as soon as we know who it is. And in some instances, it's even worse for Roman, since some people don't even remember who he is due to the film being an uneven mess. He carried himself well on his own, but he doesn't have the true presence of a forbidding, unstable antagonist like the rest of the entries I have here. He isn't the most interesting character. Instead of being scary, he's fairly lackluster, and given Scott Foley's performance, that's a bit of a damn shame. And then there's the motive. It mostly boils down to mommy issues, and honestly, that's really the plainest way I can describe it, because it's kind of embarrassing. Because his mother also just happens to be Cindy's mother, and she put him up for adoption, so while she lacked the ability and desire to care for him, she cared enough to want him to have a good life and upbringing. He was also shown to be much better off than Cindy financially, being a director and all, especially when you consider his penchant for theatricality. Keep in mind, the man literally went from doing music videos to directing arguably one of the biggest franchises in Hollywood, and has the awards to back it up. So, like, this entire spree was about him being entitled to Maureen's acceptance. The man is complaining over nothing. He's doing pretty fine for himself. And given the amount of times people who tried to kill her opted to blame her for things that weren't her fault or out of their control, I don't blame Sydney for being fed up with this shit and just saying it like it is. And considering the fact that Sydney has never again mentioned Roman at all after the events of 3, that just shows you how little of a threat he meant to her. But even then, super convoluted motivation aside, the fact that he was able to do all of this by himself, and his entire character arc was an ahead of his time commentary on the savage abuse that still goes on in Hollywood. There's definitely a lot more to him than people sleep on, but despite the well-made commentary, these issues still prevent him from being a memorable Ghostface. I can't put him any higher up on the list because of that.
Okay. Well, once again, you and chat have a beef. It's a real beef at this point, because their number 7, excuse me, is Mickey.
Altieri.
Yes, Mickey is their number 7. High kill count and media commentary motive overshadowed by Mrs. Loomis, but still strong. That is their commentary on it. So this is gonna start a riot on TikTok when we start comparing what you and Chad say, and who's like, no, David or Darius is right, no, ChatGPT is right, but that's awesome.
Oh God.
Speaking of horror, my next question is: do you have a favorite horror icon? Is it Ghostface, or is there someone else that is like, no, this is my horror icon? Like, is someone that doesn't watch a lot of horror. I learned a lot of like my horror lore through a band called Ice Nine Kills, where they sing about horror icons. They put them in their rock songs, and they're fucking awesome. That's how I learned about just who these people are, their stories could turn into really cool rock songs. But you is obviously like you know Ghostface really well, and I'm assuming you're probably pretty into like horror movies as a whole. Do you have like a horror icon that is your person that you most like?
I don't know if you exactly call this person a horror icon, but me personally, this movie also just so happens to be one of my favorite horror movies, and it's horror icon. When you say horror icon to me, I almost immediately go to Carrie.
That counts. So Carrie would be your person.
She's the, I do have a soft spot for the 2013 remake, but the 1976 film is it feels like it honestly doesn't matter which iteration of Carrie it is because her
Yeah.
entire story is honestly very depressing and actually got me to cry a couple of times. And it's definitely one of those things where it's definitely rooted enough in reality to make you think that it literally could be anybody. But it's also oi oi say
Hmm.
she's Carrie is a tragic cautionary tale, and given the state of everything, it's definitely one of the more powerful ones I think I've witnessed.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, buddy. Number 6. Tell me your number 6. We are getting into the thick of it now with our top 6. Tell me who's your number 6 on your list, man.
My number six is Richie.
Richie. Why?
Again, this is another one of those interviews where I sort of had to really mull it over because I didn't even know I was originally planning to rank him. He also sort of just existed to be the main antagonist for Scream V, and unlike Billy, you know, where they pulled the wool, or they pulled the obvious but too
Yeah.
obvious card, wonderfully to pull the wool over our eyes. The smoke and mirrors weren't really here to distract us. In some ways, he's, at least to me, he's a few diagrams less fun than Amber. His dedication to trying to convince everyone he had nothing to do with the killings only made him more obvious in my eyes. And not to mention, I think he has the lowest kill count of the ghost faces. I believe. I was honest. I almost mistook him for not having killed anybody at all. Honestly, I had to double check that.
Hmm.
He does have the same. He does have the same toxic fandom disguised as an attempt to generate new material for the next stab movie motive as Amber. And Jack Quaid's performance is mostly all he has going for Richie. Again, it's just hampered by how safe the rest of the film is, and yet he's higher up. And yet he's higher up than Amber for something that I don't think is going to make a whole lot of sense. It's just
Hmm.
I he definitely stuck out like a sore thumb in 5, but considering what Radio Silence did with him and did with his lasting impression in 6, and what might come of Scream 7 later, it proved he made more of an impression during his stretch of the saga than I originally expected. Between
Okay.
subreddit that his family started, subreddits they used to turn everyone against Sam, and considering Gale almost bit it too because of his family, it's safe to say Radio Silence took whatever momentum which he garnered and capitalized on it sort of the best way they could. I may not be a fan of the execution, but as far as how his consequences are shaping this next trilogy, it's it's definitely It's definitely interesting in a way. Him being this high up on the list mostly boils down to how his death and the lasting impact of his deeds already has and could shape the potential of this franchise going into the future, assuming it even gets to a proper conclusion. I know it's short-minded to watch or rank something based on what may or may not theoretically happen at some hypothetical point in the future, but considering they're already going through with the idea of setting up a Ghostface cult based on the same subreddit that Richie, Amber, and Jason got together with, that's definitely a sign. His motive may suffer, and Richie's mere presence and adaptability barely make him a decent ghost face and mastermind, but he opens up a lot of possible routes for the franchise to go in, even with everything that's happening behind the scenes. So at the very least, he's got that going for him. I know it's not much, but that's just me.
Well, chat again disagrees with you.
Yep.
Like your beef is now, it's for real now, because their number 6 is Stu Macher. Is that his name? Yeah.
I'm sorry. What?
Charismatic
what?
chaos, lower kill count, and simple motive, but unforgettable presence and a lasting fan impact. Stu is number 6 for ChatGPT. I think that's your number 1, but we'll save that on the list. But that is their number 6, and that is the first one that I've mentioned, that chat has mentioned, that has generally, I think, made you physically ill in a way that I can see on your face. Anyway, next question, bro. What is, in the next 12 months, your most anticipated TV show that you're looking forward to?
Ooh, that is difficult. Because again, like I mentioned, I don't watch a whole lot of TV as I used to.
Yeah.
But again, if I had to boil it down, I don't know. I think I'm looking forward to seeing the series finale of The Boys.
Yeah, that was my answer too. Because the 12-month span, it's like, well, as a Last of Us stan, which I've told you multiple times that I am, you know this by now. I'm very much looking forward to like season 3. But in the 12-month span, it's got to be The Boys. I want to see how that story ends. I think they're smart in ending it before it gets a little too long-winded. And Homelander, every time he's on screen, I just can't take my eyes off of him.
Seriously,
which is frightening and very, I think, relevant to our current times. You know what I'm talking about.
I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know if they're either going to kill him off or they're just going to take away his powers. Because honestly, I think taking away his powers is honestly like a fate worse than death.
And who's to say he doesn't win? Like at that point, like the way the world goes, like what if the ending of The Boys is that Homelander offs The Boys and Homelander becomes king of the world? That's probably a lot more realistic than like a happy ending. But
it'd also be depressing as hell, considering look what's happening now.
Yeah, that's my point. That's anyway. Okay, good. The Boys. I think we're in agreement on that. I don't know if ChatGPT would agree with you, but number 5, we have entered the top 5.
Again, Chad. I haven't watched a whole lot of TV, so.
But you and Chat got beef right now because he said Stu, and you. Anyway, number 5. Who is your number? We're into the top 5. Top 5 Ghostfaces. Who is your number 5?
Ooh. This one. Now, this one right here was an actual challenge. My number 5 is Mickey Altieri.
Okay. Why?
Again, he was probably the most difficult Ghostface I had to rank among the rest of his colleagues. He was, believe it or not, he was actually the one that I honestly kept forgetting even existed. So I literally had to like rewatch Scream 2 again to sort of get reacquainted with him. And he's honestly pretty terrifying. He may be now to me personally, he's the least memorable of the two Ghostfaces in Scream 2. But on his own, he's really, really grown on me. Timothy Olyphant's performance, first of all. Talk about chewing the scenery whenever given a chance.
I love that guy.
Sorry, yeah. 1 second.
What do you think, man?
Yeah. Thank you. I'm in the middle.
Did you just get Uber Eats, bro?
Did I get a what?
Uber Eats, was that Uber Eats coming to your door?
No, that was dinner.
Damn. Okay, good. Same. Okay. Anyway, you were saying on the number 5 on why he is so great.
Saying how much Timothy Oliphant chews up the scene whenever he gets. He does an excellent job portraying 1 foot insanity and 1 foot out. He's a solid enough film student who seems poised to be the next Randy, and a very great lunatic when the other hammer drops, especially in the way he manipulates others and likes the thrill of playing mind games and disruption. He's like an eldritch combination of Billy and Stu, only more mature, at least in my opinion. But what really sold it for me was his motive and mentality, because the man has no conscience. Again, he's probably the most dangerous Ghostface out of the rest of them, at least as far as my number 1, because he has nothing to lose and everything to gain out of what he does. He doesn't claim any personal vendetta against Sidney or any of his friends. He may even like them in a way, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because he loves killing more. He's proud to wear the mask. He's proud to be a copycat. And his motive really is that crazy in the grand scheme of things. He's fully aware of how psychotic he is. So he wants to put his film knowledge to the ultimate test by letting himself get caught and work the system into claiming he's innocent. And keep in mind, he was already an up-and-coming serial killer before Billy and Stu put the town in the overdrive, and that's a testament to how conniving and methodical he is. And not to mention his entire arrangement with Loomis is basically a business transaction where he hopes to receive payment with financial backing and tuition expenses to gain even further infamy. So that immediately elevates Mickey, and to me at least, from a one-dimensional archetype to a greedy son of a bitch. Now, as far as what holds him back, it's fairly simple. He's barely in the movie at all. The man's, again, he's almost an afterthought until he reveals himself, and when he does, it's less shock and surprise, and more of a shrug. Not to mention, if you really go through the logistics of his plan, any lawyer would have told Mickey he'd be lucky to get, 20, 25 years in prison at best. But even saying that, he might have gotten lucky, because the way our justice system is designed, they'd rather let thousands of criminals walk free than send innocent people to jail. Or maybe it's the other way around now, consider this administration. But basically, quality screen time matters more than quantity, and the few scenes he had did work out in the long run after extensive rewatches. So yeah, I think I like Mickey.
Okay. Their answer is Amber Freeman, number 5. Brutal, fanatical motive about saving Stab, kills Dewey, intense physicality, slacker, weaker depth than Jill. Interesting. So you and Chad have only got, I think, 1 or 2 that are together.
I don't.
Which makes it interesting. That's awesome.
I don't think we matched a single of them.
My next question: what is your favorite Marvel movie?
Wait, when you say Marvel movie, do you mean like any film, like in the MCU in particular, or just Marvel in general?
Whatever you want. I think my original intent for writing that was MCU, but honestly, my favorite Marvel movie is outside of the MCU, and so if your favorite one is outside the MCU, then go ahead and say that.
God, there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, there's only 36 in the MCU, and then God knows how many X-Men or Blade or Fantastic Four. Or...
Oy vey. Dude, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to answer that.
Is there? I guess that's fine. My favorite one outside the MCU is Logan. That's my favorite movie of all time. Is Logan with Hugh Jackman, Daphne Keane, and that's my favorite movie. I have the poster if you can see it.
Yeah, I one up there.
Yeah, it's right there. I have the poster right there. And I think inside the MCU, I think it's Winter Soldier or Civil War. Both of those Captain America movies, I was just like, God, just amazing. Which is funny because like Captain America, he shouldn't be an interesting guy to put in a movie because he's kind of boring. He's a little too noble, and somehow they turned out 3 amazing movies with him in it, and so that's probably my answer. But if you can't, there's so many that it's probably tough to like pin one down. Which one you specifically like the best?
Of that, there is no question.
Okay, if you come back to that, go on my Instagram and type it in, and we'll make sure to highlight the comment.
If you had to put a gun to my head, force an answer out of me,
which I am,
I'd probably say Across the Spider-Verse.
Okay, that's a good answer. That's a good answer.
That film is
No.
phenomenal.
Yep. Yeah. Nope. That is a good answer. Done. So this is free advertising right now because we're recording for the Wyoming Cowboys. Yeah, bro. Well, people listen to the podcast. They won't know we took a little break, but we're back. We're back on the pod because we didn't finish our list, man. We got 4 more to go. I got 4 more questions. ChatGPT has 4 more arguments or disagreements with you. But man, I tell you, like before we get started, I think my favorite Ghostface. Just I have not seen a movie, but I was doing some marketing for like the podcast and stuff when it comes like your list and chat's list. I think mine is Timothy Oliphant. I think he's my favorite dude.
Mickey
What's his
Altieri.
name again? What is it?
Mickey Altieri.
Yeah, because like I in the videos I was watching, he's got like he's got this aura about him, and I love him in literally everything that he's in. Like there's a movie that I watched that I think is bad. I think, but because he was in it, I think it was good. It was came out like maybe like 15 years ago. It's called Hitman. And he was great in that. And I was convinced for a long time that was a good movie because he was in it. So just for the podcast, the official Locked Off Logic favorite Ghostface is Timothy Oliphant. Yeah, dude.
It's one of those opinions because I feature somebody you like, in a way. Yep. Sometimes it just feels like you have to support it in a way, like because at least with an actor like that who's actually trying, it at least elevates the material a little bit.
Yeah. And I can't wait till next year when Pedro Pascal becomes the new Ghostface.
He wasn't part of the cast. He's not part of the cast. But imagine if that was kept a secret, man. I swear to God.
I would not be surprised. I was so surprised. I almost heard that he was in Weapons this year.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
I know.
Bro, how much work can one man do? Like he's in like at least 10 leading roles this year, and he was almost in another one. I'm like, God bless him. Like he must just be working his butt off. But he's not. He's not on the list, and so D Riptide, man, who is number 4?
Imagine if Pedro was on the list, though.
Can you imagine if he was the next? Like he freaking takes off the ghost, and you're like, it's Mr. Fantastic, Joel Miller, The Mandalorian, Javier Pena, like all these amazing roles that he's in. You're like, oh, of course, Pedro Pascal is going to be in Ghostface in Scream.
He has the moveset, the demeanor. I'm not saying he can't pull it off. I just haven't seen that side of him yet. Well, actually, I did see a little bit in Wonder Woman 1984, but at the same time, I don't know.
Yeah. That movie's a disappointment, man. I hated Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah,
I thought that was so bad.
A lot of people don't like it. I'm not exactly a huge fan either.
But
he was definitely one of the bright spots.
Yeah. Okay. Number 4 on your list. Who is number 4 on your list, man, for your Ghostface?
Okay, getting down to the wire here. My number 4. Stu Macher.
Still Macher. Why?
When I look at a lot of these other Ghostfaces here, there are many Ghostfaces that can and have pulled off the crazy psychotic nature of what the mask brings and the slop that comes with it. But I don't think many of them have pulled it off before or since better than Stu has. Right off the bat, Matthew Lillard's performance it pinballs between being skin-crawlingly creepy and just hilariously daft, and it's enough to hammer home just how out of it the kid really is. He's constantly jumping from menacing to disturbing to deranged to pathetic to hilarious within a moment's notice, and it's honestly pretty terrifying to watch. He's jittery, he's energetic, he's completely erratic, and he definitely gets off of how people react to him and vice versa. And he thrives off of being this thrill seeker, and it really does. It ties into his motive a little bit. The Ghostface who did it for fun. It's like it's definitely it's kind of funny because in the movie there's literally a quote saying that it's a lot scarier when there's no motive, and the man simply did not care at all who got killed or who he killed in the process. And I literally just said it. Sometimes it's scarier when there is no motive. Like, I'm not exaggerating. He let his No, I'm not exaggerating. He let his former girlfriend Casey Becker get hacked to pieces, started dating Dewey's sister, and then literally sent her to the garage, only to literally split her in half with the garage door. And I'm sorry, that speaks of someone who has a lot more agency in this supposed partnership than someone succumbing to peer pressure. I don't care. I don't care if you're too sensitive. And let's not forget. Well, okay. Even if you do want to spin the narrative that he was sort of succumbing to peer pressure, there's a lot of clues and a lot of hints spread throughout the film and his house in particular that you have to pause to dissect because it's a lot of subtle and subdued bits of storytelling that actually do build out a case dissecting the puzzle of his psyche. There have been a few comments that I scoured about like over these past 2 years or whatnot that point out that Stu was either killing out of a need to either prove himself a man, hence his rather misogynistic actions, or to find affection elsewhere. Looking back at the film again with this knowledge in mind, it brings Stu around in a somewhat different light. The man isn't a complete goofball. He actually does have some layers to him. But then again, bumping him down to number 4 was inevitable because despite the many well-hidden and disturbing signs that show he's just as messed up as Billy, the man is still mostly comic relief at the end of the day, and it's hard sometimes to take him seriously as a result. And let's be honest, back then the kid had no chance in hell against Sydney. But I can understand why a lot of people think of Stu so fondly as both a character and a killer. Something that I've myself grown to respect too. He not only is he the life of the party, but he's one of the Ghostfaces with perhaps the most baggage. And now, it makes sense in a way. There have been so many people clamoring for Stu to come back. Hell, Matthew Lillard himself said that he still wanted it at the time. Because, again, I mentioned it was supposed to happen in Scream 3, but then Columbine happened, and then, well, everything had to change. But the weird thing is, he has been brought back for Scream 7. So, in a weird roundabout way, we might actually be getting that.
Interesting. Huh. Well, number 4 on Chad's list is Jill Roberts from Scream 4. Why modernize the motive, fame, envy, strong kill count, and character arc, impactful legacy killer?
Not wrong.
Yeah. So once again, you and chat, man, you guys are in a dogfight when it comes to the ranking, which will be fun. I'm excited to see what our audience thinks if like they agree with chat.
I'm going to at least bet that top 3.
Okay, but before we get there,
gotta match at least once.
Yeah, you got to match at least once. I think maybe you guys matched once. I think like on the 3 that you did like all at once. I think in the order you may have said one you may have matched, but when we're done with this, I'll write them all out and we'll see if you guys matched up at all. But maybe not. Okay. D Riptide, do you have a favorite video game?
Ooh, yeah. Well, I do have a favorite video game series, but as far as would that count or is it just like video game like singular alert?
Whatever you think, whatever you want, man. Whatever floats your boat.
Me personally, as much as I love the Last of Us series, my heart belongs to God of War.
Oh, baby, why? Which one? Ragnarok, one of the OGs, the God of War, the reboot? Like, what is it?
I'm honestly stuck between God of War 3 and God of War 4 because they're both representing Kratos both at his rock bottom, his absolute worst, at least humanely, and also his attempt to sort of regain not just how to become a better person, a better father in God of War 4. That sort of ties over to Ragnarok, and it's one of those things where just watching this entire series in general, it really is a very, very powerful, very microscopic look of a man who has continually lost everything and yet still finds something to live for, even if it takes a lot of blood, a lot of guts, a lot of moving stuff around through gods and everything, and it's honestly one of the more powerful narratives I've been subjected to, and I really can't. That type of experience I haven't really been able to get with a whole lot of other games recently.
Are you excited for the Amazon Prime series or no?
I'm I'm skeptical. Like I really am. I'd
I hope I hope they do a good job.
I'd honestly riot if that thing got ruined in any way.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny. I just downloaded God of War 4 because I kind of got into the God of War craze a little late. Like God of War Ragnarok, I saw the trailer, and that's kind of what like pushed me to like get a PS5. And so I just downloaded the new one of the God of War because it was on not the new God of War 4 because it was on sale for whatever reason. I bought it for like $9. Just downloaded it on my PS4, and so I'm gonna play it as soon as I get done with Ghost of Yotei. So
I
I'm in
feel
for a
I
good
feel you.
ride.
I feel you, man. I only had like three God of War games like in my household growing up, and that was God of War 1, 2, and Chains of Olympus for the PSP. I didn't even know what God of War was until one of my cousins brought it over and showed it to me. And from the first few frames offward, I was just hooked. I
Yeah.
I never actually got the chance to play God of War 3 or Ghost of Sparta or even God of War 4. Like I never got the chance to own those games until like way later, like after I moved away from New York and when I was in college. I got the chance then to actually test those out and play it for myself so I can get the full experience then. And then God of War Ragnarok came around. And I just automatically knew that I I definitely grew more accustomed to playing PlayStation at the time. But considering that I used to be an Xbox person, I knew that wasn't going to fly, and of course I wasn't going to miss the next release of one of my favorite game franchises ever. So I eventually saved up enough money so I could finally cave buy my own PlayStation 5. And I haven't looked back.
Good. Good, man. My co-host, he's a huge God of War fan too. Shout out to Sam. But he loves God of War so much that he hasn't played Ragnarok because once he starts it, he knows at some point he has to end it. And so, like, the point of like jumping in, I'm like, oh man. But he's got God of War stuff all over his
It's
house.
been
He
it's been
has actually
bloody
some.
3 years.
I know, but he's like, the anticipation's there. I'm like, it's worth it. It is. It's a great game. I had fun with it. Good answer, bro. I was not expecting that. It's a good point too. You bring up like good stories in video games. I saw this IGN article recently that made me want to like strangle somebody because they were like, our audience is getting sick of video games with good stories, and I was like, who the fuck is asking that question? Like, I don't know any person that's like, oh, I wish my video game was had a little less depth. I'm like, nobody that I know asked those questions. I'm like, what the hell are they even writing this for? It's just clickbait.
Do you have
And they
any
used
idea?
God of War as like Kratos as one of the images for their story. Pissed me off.
Do you have any idea how embarrassing it is to ask IGN for help?
Yeah, no shit. No, they are so bad. Like the more I see their reviews, the more I see their stuff, I'm just like, you guys suck. Like, you guys are so bad. You guys have no concept like what's good and what's bad. And
And e-
but anyway,
and even the few decent reviews that they do have, it's just like a drop in the well compared to everything else.
yep, yeah, I don't like it. Don't like it. Okay, bro,
Didn't
we are
didn't mean to go off. Didn't mean to
into.
go off on that tangent there, guys.
No, that's okay. That's why we ask those questions. So we are officially have entered the
Top
top
four.
three for the Ghostface ranking. Down to the final three. Who does D Riptide have for number three on his Ghostface rank?
Nancy Loomis.
Okay, why?
Remember when I said that Scream 5 was basically them doing the first movie over again? Scream 6 is basically them doing the second movie all over again, which means that all three of those killers there were basically, they're not exactly a ripoff of Nancy Loomis here, but they basically have the same motive and basically going after the main character for more or less the same reason. I have no qualms in admitting that Nancy Loomis is better than all those three killers combined. Yes, the entire manner of her plan comes up rather soap opera-ish, but it's the simplicity in her. No, I put simplicity in italics because like what else in this series is simple? But yeah,
Yeah.
simplicity in her plot and Laurie Metcalf completely diving headfirst into the meta subtext of a character, and it helps turned Scream 2's ending into one of the better finales of the series. My particular issues with the final act of Scream 2, it wasn't so much the killers themselves. I think it was more of the staging of how the final act ended up becoming. You could say it feeling staged wasn't meant to be its intention, but I don't know. It just always came up too restrictive to me. The killers are anything but. Sure, even if the choices they make are questionable. Sure, having Nancy lose 20 plus pounds, undergo plastic surgery, and successfully come up with a fake name to get close to Cindy in the game was definitely off-putting. But it still garnered results by building itself up to a pretty solid alibi, using the Debbie So alias to get close to the group and let Mickey take the fall. And since Debbie didn't exist, she could basically just disappear without a trace. She's probably the best killer of the bunch to benefit from hiding in plain sight and being smart enough to have Mickey do most of the heavy lifting and be one step ahead of the curve to throw him under the bus when it came time to do so. And that's only strengthened by Laurie Metcalf's performance. The emotional volatility, the frenetic energy, the crazy eyes, the meticulous way she approaches and handles her character with such a disarming presence, it immediately elevates her beyond what could have been a cheap plot twist. And her character is very, very nicely done. This was the first time a killer in the Scream series was killing under the guise of good old-fashioned revenge. And yes, it's not anything new as far as motives go. At least it makes more sense in 2 than 6 to me, because it felt more realistic. And again, I put realistic in italics because we're talking about realism in a series where killers always pop up for one last scare after being killed already. People can survive multiple stabbings and walk it up like it's a damn paper cut. And again, one of the biggest rumors involved in the Scream series is that Stu somehow survives a TV electrocuting him to where he could hide out for decades and operate this Ghostface cult behind the scenes. But I digress from the topic. Her pain as a result of Billy. As a result of not only, let me restart that. Her pain as a result of Billy's killing spree is apparent, almost more so than her apparent bloodlust. But it's also her anguish and conflicting feelings at the forefront about loving her son that put her more in the spotlight. Because even if you put to one side that she was the one who left him and his family after the fact, you can still tell that being cheated on and then being blamed for her son's psychotic behavior, along with losing him before they can reconcile, it really did screw her up. And it's beyond selfish desires or just having a superiority complex. She definitely falls into the pride section of having an intense admiration for herself, to where she can't accept that most of this was just as much as her fault as Cindy's mother. So she disregarded any and all logic and blamed Cindy for taking Billy away from her, rather than admit it was her own negligence for her own son and family that indirectly led to her son becoming a serial killer in the first place. Yes, she still cared about Billy, but she's no angel either. She has sympathetic qualities as a result of a mother avenging a boy's death and the role she played in the destruction of her family, but that doesn't make her sympathetic. It makes her freaking hypocritical. She still left him with his dad over the affair, abandoning him in the process, and then she has the nerve to play the good mother card, and no, you don't get any brownie points for that. Between the bonkers performance and a motive that stems mostly from logic and reason, she's how you do the revenge plot in a Scream film if you want to go that route. Not the slapdash fuster clock that happened in Scream 6, okay? She may not be my personal favorite, but I go so far as to call her the most underrated. Her ability to weaponize her own maternal instincts while simultaneously using the struggles of motherhood to justify her own psychotic deeds is extremely disturbing.
Well, my man, unfortunately, you and chat agree. You and chat agree, bro. Number 3, Mrs. Loomis / Debbie Salt. Scream 2, personal revenge-driven motive, excellent acting, ties to the original. Film has the highest Rotten Tomatoes score. There you go, man.
Okay.
We have an agreement.
Okay. Now I'm worried because I know there's only 2 spots left, and I'm really worried which one is gonna go which.
Well, we will find out, man. Before we get there, I want to know, do you have, as of this recording, we're recording this on October 18th, for the rest of the year, do you have a most anticipated movie that you are looking forward to that will be released in 2025?
Wicked for Good.
Okay. So that is the last one of that. Those are two movies, right? There's Wicked 1 and Wicked 2. Is this the last one, or is there a third
This
one?
is the last one.
Okay, why is that one your most anticipated?
The Wizard of Oz is one of my favorite films of all time. It was one of the first films I remember watching when I was a kid. I was always fascinated with that world. It was one of the earliest examples of, I guess, I wouldn't go so far as to call it a perfect movie under any circumstances. But the world was colorful. The characters stood out very much so, and some of its themes still hold up very much today. And I didn't even catch on to the fact that there was a musical about it in 2003 until way after the fact. And to be 100% honest, my recent obsession with Wicked is 100% thanks to one of my friends from college, Gabby. She is a ultra. Sorry, this keeps happening. Losing my train of thought.
No, you're good, man.
Gabby has quickly become one of my closest friends since college, and also and also a very strong theater person. She is definitely. It froze again, didn't it? Crap.
No, you're good. On my end, you're good.
It froze again on my end. So yeah.
Oh shoot,
So
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I'm probably gonna do this for a little while. Bas-
Okay.
Basically, the point I'm trying to get across here is that not only is Gabby a really good friend of mine, she's probably the reason why I'm even obsessed with Wicked now in the first place. Wicked is one of her favorite musicals. She was very high on Broadway and theater in general, and more often than not, she's very passionate about these type of things. If you the way I am with reviewing movies, the way she is when it comes to Broadway and theater and learning the intricacies and everything. She when I made the decision to go see the first Wicked, she literally begged me to take her with her, and it ended up
That's
and
cool.
it turned into arguably one of my favorite movie going experiences. Sorry. You can still hear me, right?
I can still hear you, but yeah, I can't see you.
That's definitely the thing.
Do you wanna try to leave and come back in?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, try that.
Okay, much better.
There you go, bro. Now I can see you great.
Okay, that's much better.
Okay, man. You ready? The top two, man. Who's your number two?
I don't know if this is going to be controversial to the people watching this,
It's all good for
but my number two. What?
it's all good for the engagement. So if it's controversial, that's probably good.
Unfortunately, my number two is Billy Loomis.
Okay. Why?
To be serious for a minute, I was actively looking for some kind of. I've often seen a lot of people put Billy Loomis on their number ones for like the best Ghostface out there. I was actively trying to look for like any reason I can think of as to sort of bump him down. But every time I look back at the impact this franchise has left on pop culture and movies in general, it's impossible to it's impossible to ignore how much of it inevitably comes back to the original killer. Sometimes it's true that you can never forget your first, and Billy Loomis is living proof of that. He's the star attraction. He's the blueprint. He's the benchmark by which all of these other Scream killers are measured by, no matter the iffy changes that Scream 3 made to his backstory. And to be blunt with it, he's not only is he a pretty solid character, he's also an amazing lost track again, an amazing fantastic source of world building. That's what I was trying to get across. Sorry. Unlike Richie, framing Billy as the culprit early on while making it ambiguously clear how too obvious it was a genius move on Wes Craven and Kevin Williams' behalf. He's the character everybody expects, but they find a lot of sneaky ways to trick the audience into making us think otherwise, and it actually works. As a mild-mannered kid, he can come off as creepy, but you just think he's always in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was also a wise move to make it a high schooler, because people have to adapt to fit into an alien environment where the constant struggles of grades and friends and popularity and extracurriculars, they weigh heavy on the minds of people growing up in the world. It's a terrifying prospect that people are still having to deal with today, unfortunately. And that's also the thing, because Billy wasn't entirely heartless to the bone at first. He was just a kid on the messy end of a divorce, just barely trying to keep it together. But between bringing out the iconic look for the infamous moniker for the first time and the plan he inevitably has to get at Sidney, it's clear where he got his mean streak from. And again, I just mentioned, he's also a fantastic source of world building that the few films take advantage of to help catapult him into becoming an amazing antagonist. Yes, even Scream V. And then there is his actual deeds himself, because Billy pretty much made it his mission to wipe the entire Prescott bloodline off the face of the planet. And he was the only one doing it purely out of wrath and malice, not to mention his reasons are kind of easy to understand. Wanted to break apart Cindy's family because her mother broke apart his. And again, that does kind of make it unoriginal in a way, but the specifics of the family drama make it unique, at least when this movie first came out. It's also unique because it also dissected point for point just how well he had gotten to know Sidney in the short amount of time that he did. He knew how to read people like an open book, and his penchant for thinking outside of the box led him to getting away with Sidney's mother's murder for an entire year. He's technically the first and only Ghostface in this series who actively outside of Roman at least, who actively got away with murder. Now, I could talk you guys' ears off, going over every nook and cranny, but whether people like it or not, the entire series revolves around and comes back to Billy. He's the one who kickstarted the entire events of the series. The reason why Cindy's in a hole with decades worth of nightmares and PTSD that she had to spend digging herself out of. He ensured this domino effect that caused so many other people to take up the mantle and continue his reign of terror after he passed, even in death. 30 years later, the man continued to haunt Sidney, Gail, Dewey, and even his own daughter, Sam. Which, yeah, that was the main twist of Scream V. It can arguably be said that Billy set the bar so high that no other Ghostface has since surpassed him. And yet I say that when there's only one Ghostface left on my list.
Well, your reunion with ChatGPT did not last long, because it thinks, whatever you want to describe Chat, that Roman Bridger is the number 2 ranked Ghostface. Scream 3, solo killer, high kill count, tragic motive, abandonment, mastermind of the franchise's meta lore, weak film score keeps him just below number 1.
Okay. I know people watching this are gonna have a field day with that.
All right, dude. Again, I want it clear. This is not.
No way Roman is that high up.
This is not Locked Off Logic's list. This is ChatGPT's list. My list. There's just one Ghostface at the top, and it's whoever Timothy Oliphant's character was. He is number 1 for the podcast, not because of Ghostface, but because of his work in Hitman. So, all right, bro. Okay, wait. Before we go to number 1, which anyone that's listening probably already knows number 1 because I've been keeping track, but I want to know. We talked about your most anticipated movie for the rest of this year. What is your most anticipated movie for next year?
Is it wrong to say as of right now that I don't have one?
That would surprise me. I figured that you would have one.
Nothing's quite come up yet.
Okay. I think with me, I'm trying to decide. Like, there's a lot of good things coming out next year. I think what really intrigues me is Avengers Doomsday. It's going to be, I think, just a crazy event. I don't know if it will be good based on the stuff I'm hearing, like behind the scenes, that they started filming before the script was even done. Like, there's
You
things that
know,
make me nervous, but I think it will be a fun experience to have all those people on screen again, to see the Avengers and whatever. But probably if you were to ask me at this point, and again, it's just on the top of my head, I haven't looked at like an official list or anything of anything releasing. I sure wish the Batman 2 is coming out next year, but it's not. So 2027 is the Batman 2. Can't wait for that. But next year is probably the Odyssey from Christopher Nolan. I don't love everything Christopher Nolan does. Like, I loved all the Batmans. I was fine with Dunkirk. I actually did not like Interstellar. Tenet, I did not like at all. Tenet was like, get this shit off of my TV. This is 45 minutes too long. And I liked, borderline loved Oppenheimer. But so probably the Odyssey.
I, I'm not entirely sure if people. I don't know if people are gonna respect you not liking Interstellar, man.
Dude, I already get shit for that. I already get shit because my co-host, he loves Interstellar, but and I like it. I can appreciate it, but I emotionally, I checked out of the movie. I was really into it until he gets tripped up on that water planet, and then Murph ages 20 years in a span of like 15 minutes. And that was like too much for me. I was like, nope, can't do it, can't do it. I'm done, and just emotionally checked out of the film when that happened. So if I rewatched it now, I like it a little bit better. But at the time, I was like, nope, that does it for me. I can no longer get emotionally invested in the story because it makes me too sad. But I'm not like a Nolan stan though. Some people like I've had on the show are kind of Nolan stans where it's like, oh, Nolan is. I do think Christopher Nolan is a visionary. I think he's an amazing director. But I do not believe that everything he touches is good. And I think Tenet is a really good example of that.
Good example of that.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
just like, look, it was creative, yeah, the acting was great, but this was easily 45 minutes too long, which is saying something. And I just walked out of there, and I was just like, I just don't feel anything. Like, it's just a movie, which I guess is fine. But in Christopher Nolan's book, if you're walking out of film and you were just like, that was just a movie, I think he's disappointed. But that would be mine if I had to pick one. Oh, and then anything probably showing at Sundance, because I know next year is the last year that Sundance Film Festival is going to happen in Utah, which is fairly close to where I live. And so I'm sure I'll be up there and I'll see some movies up there too. So we'll see. See. All right, man, we have arrived.
Now that you
What's up?
now that you have mentioned the Odyssey, it definitely clicked out to me.
Yeah.
I probably am excited for that film. Mostly because I've been watched Epic the musical, and it sort of got me back into the Odyssey and everything.
Yeah, I think the cast on that is insane too. Like Tom Holland, John Bernthal, Mark Wahlberg. I think they're just gonna. Oh, and
I think you mean Matt Damon.
did I say? Well, yeah, Matt Damon. You're right. And Rob Pattinson's in that. Like, this year was like, I think, the year of like Pedro Pascal. But next year, man, like freaking Rob Pattinson's gonna be in the Odyssey. Rob Pattinson's gonna be in Dune 3 as the main villain, and then just a couple months later, hopefully in 2027, he will be back as the Batman. So I think the age of Pedro Pascal is ending, and we are welcoming in the age of Rob Pattinson. Anyway, bro, Rob Pattinson he is not Ghostface, and this is not a Rob Pattinson show or Pedro Pascal show. We have got to the number one Ghostface, ranked by chat, ranked by you. Obviously, mine is Timothy Oliphant, but that's, whatever. So for you, for anyone that hasn't kept up so far, who is your favorite Ghostface, and why?
With only one spot left, it's Jill Roberts.
Okay, why?
The most surprising Ghostface reveal, could be alongside perhaps the most morally bankrupt Ghostface as of yet, with a motive significantly ahead of its time, a mentality that combines the most fun and terrifying elements of the original killers, and a psychotic workhorse-like mentality that almost led to us seeing a Ghostface actively getting away with murder since the first film. We're talking about a character whose entire arc has aged better than I could have expected. Honestly, from the moment I put this list together, I just knew that Jill was going to be number one. Because, let me try and paint a picture here. Each and every one of these killers that we mentioned are psychotic to varying degrees, right? But they also have something keeping some spice of humanity intact within them. Charlie had his love for Jill. Jason, Richie, and Amber had their love for the Stab franchise in general. Wayne, Quinn, and Ethan, and Nancy Loomis had their love for their significant others. Mickey had his need for killing and financial support needing to be paid off. Roman and Stu are a little bit tricky, but the former's hatred for Cindy drove him, and the latter's need for validation and love through Billy. Even Billy himself was killing all these people for the family that got destroyed because of Cindy's mother. The man clearly may have been insane, but he still cared about his mother, and that alone makes him a little bit more human than Jill ever was. So you see where I'm getting at with this. While every one of these other Ghostfaces are varying degrees of broken, Jill is just completely corroded down to the core. She is totally heartless, completely removed from reality, the one true sociopath out of everybody in this catalog. And that's what makes having the killer be the new Sydney a genius idea. The reveal in and of itself was fairly basic, but the sheer shock of realizing that this woman, who we've been cheering for to make it through another day, orchestrated the entire thing and re-triggered Sydney's PTSD with a sly grin and masochistic aura, was so destroying. It's like what Roman wanted in Scream 3. Everyone to see that Sydney had finally snapped and killed everyone. I mean, this woman is so tenacious in her plotting, knowing her brain is her biggest strength. Hell, she literally says that sick is the new sane. And by the time it gets to her motive, oh, boy does it show. Lifelong jealousy, a cloud of judgment, admiration for fame made Jill entirely numb in regard to people and emotions. Like, Kirby didn't matter to her, Charlie didn't matter to her, Olivia didn't matter to her, hell, Trevor didn't matter to her, and not even her own mother was safe. Keep this in mind, she murdered her own mother. This was Sydney's mother's sister, Sydney's aunt, and Jill killed her, or had her killed without a care in the world, and left Sydney powerless to stop it. And all for something so trivial too. You could definitely get away with saying that Jill was running entirely off of envy, but me personally, Jill is a true glutton in every sense of the word. It wasn't just enough for her to just be the next Sydney. She wanted to be the mastermind, the killer, the victim, the sole survivor. Literally, she wanted to have everything. She wanted to have it all, and she'd stop at nothing to achieve it, even going so far as to Fight Club herself to make her look the part. It's hilarious in a lot of matters, but it's also deeply terrifying because of how accurately it depicts how far someone is willing to go just for a momentary high. These are the lengths some people will go to out of some desperate need to be important or some need to matter. The motive might have looked and sounded trivial at first glance, but this film inevitably got the last laugh because it's not far off from what society became in the 2010s too, going into the present day. Instant gratification and fame pretty much have become commonplace around this time frame. So much so that some have even pulled a Jill to get by. And it's one of those things where it's one of those things where it honestly I'm sort of talking myself around in circles here because as much as I do love this character, it also is sort of baffling to me how someone could even get like this. Because she had a good upbringing, with a mom who tried her best, friends who at least cared for her well-being. But being neglected by her mom who kept pitying herself and constantly being in Sydney's shadow, something inside her just made her snap. And Jill just saw this black hole in which she felt only violence and fame could fill. She's the purest example of a malign narcissist. Someone who's full of themselves but actually has the wherewithal to back it up. If Mickey saw fame and notoriety as theater, Jill saw it as a way out. Now, it definitely feels weird having both killers of Scream 4 on both opposite sides of the spectrum, Charlie being the worst and me and Jill being the best. But honestly, I'm not complaining. Billy Loomis might be the better developed character, but to me personally, Jill Roberts is the living epitome of everything a Ghostface embodies. Very elusive, brilliantly two-faced, and difficult to figure out and understand, even when we do get even when we do get a handle on the who, what, when, and why. And it's those very things that make her a fascinating character, a wonderful antagonist, and in my personal opinion, the best Ghostface in the entire series.
Well, you already know this, but you in chat do not agree. The number one for their list is Billy Loomis,
Billy
like you had
Loomis.
said. Yep. Scream from 96, the blueprint, deep character arc, strong motives, revenge and resentment, iconic longevity, high film rating, a solid kill count, the ultimate Ghostface. Interesting.
I'm not surprised there. Again, like I said, he's the better developed character, but to me personally, Jill stands out more.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I'm glad you guys had some disagreements. It should make some fun conversations on TikTok and Instagram. And before I get for my last question, man, I just want to thank you for
We
coming
still
on the.
passed on one though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and we'll make that known so people can celebrate that when they see it. That you and the computer agreed on something. But man, before I get to my last question, I just want to thank you for coming on Locked Off Logic podcast. For those that don't know, this is actually a multiple month long planning sesh, and it actually took us 2 days to record this. But I just want to thank you, man. I can't wait to see how people react to this. I really appreciate your insights. I love your reviews. Keep doing them. And my last question for the audience is, where can people find you? Where can people find the work that you do? And what is the best way to support the work that you do and the reviews that you continue to put out on the movies that you're seeing? And the TV shows you're watching. And the games you're playing. Where can people go to find your stuff?
I would say go to my YouTube channel or TikTok, but I feel like Instagram is where I get the most traction possible. So I would recommend you go there.
Okay.
I thought you were frozen. Sorry.
No, I'm looking up. I think I follow you on.
Yes, you did.
Well, I know on that, but on YouTube. Do I do it on YouTube? I don't know if I do it on YouTube. What's your YouTube handle name?
I think it's the same, Dear Riptide.
Huh. Interesting. I'll have to find you. Can't find you. Anyway, what we'll do is we'll put a link to this in your YouTube and your Instagram and your TikTok on our post so people can find it. Cool, man.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Dude, man, Darius, man, what an honor to have you on the podcast. We'll send people your way, see how people like this.
It's an honor. It really is.
I can't wait to have you back.
Ditto. I wish I could have done this more without stuttering a whole lot and starting and stopping over, but...
Dude, I didn't even notice, man. You kicked ass. Maybe next Halloween, you'll come on and you'll rank the... we can't do Ghostface because we already did Ghostface. Maybe we'll rank like the Friday the 13th movies or something. Gives me actually a year to catch up on like 27 films or however many is in that franchise. But
I definitely have to go back and rewatch a lot of those.
Cool, man. Well, for all of us checking in, go check him out at YouTube. Check out the link in our bio. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow him on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. You'll see our posts during Halloween 2025 as our audience. Maybe they'll have some different opinions too of like even chat versus D Riptide. Maybe there'll be some beef in between of who people think is the actual legit Ghostface or the worst Ghostface. But until next time, man, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much, Tyler.